I'd like to take just a few minutes this afternoon here, Mr. President, to speak about the most recent white paper that I have released. And this is on the connection or the nexus between energy and water. I mentioned I had an opportunity to present this on Tuesday, it was, at the Atlantic Council here in Washington. It's entitled The Energy-Water Nexus, Interlinked Resources That Are Vital for Economic Growth and Sustainability. And it's really a very timely subject, very relevant to the current discussion of measures that we can take to support energy efficiency. I think it's apparent, but it certainly bears repeating, that there are clear links between energy and water and energy. And these fall into two categories, and it sounds kind of simple, but it's water for energy and energy for water. Because without water, much of our energy, electricity included, just can't be produced. Our economy literally comes to a halt. And without energy, and particularly electricity, the treatment, the transport, the distribution of water, that doesn't function either. That all seizes up as well. So you've got water and energy just inextricably linked. And I think it's important to acknowledge that the continued availability and reliability should not be taken for granted. And I think sometimes this is the part that we fail to keep in perspective. We're talking a lot about energy right now, but as we talk about energy, let's talk about how that energy source intersects with water. In an effort to produce this energy, how much water are we consuming? And in an effort to use that water, how much energy is being consumed to move or treat? So again, the nexus is tight. And Mr. President, when it comes to water for energy, an interesting statistic here, about 41% of our freshwater withdrawals here in the United States are attributed to cooling the vast majority of our power plants. And this also consumes about 6% of our fresh water. Water is also routinely needed to produce the various energy resources that we rely on, whether it's oil, whether it's coal, gas, uranium. According to CRS, the Congressional Research Service, the production of biofuels has the highest water intensity value, requiring 1,000 times more water than conventional natural gas. So again, understanding what the intensity is, I think, is important as we talk about our energy resources. Altogether, more than 12 billion gallons of fresh water are consumed daily for the combined production of fuels and electricity across the country. Now, turning to energy for water, one study on a national scale found that direct water-related energy consumption amounted to more than 12% of domestic primary energy consumption in 2010. That's equivalent to the annual water consumption of about 40 million Americans. Now, we're seeing new technology, and I think we're seeing that really with the potential to provide a paradigm shift. And from today's vantage point, steady population increase, the resource needs of a modern economy, I think we know could make fresh water a limited resource in many parts of the country. We're certainly seeing this out in the West, severe droughts out in California, really for that matter across most of the western U.S. really only serve to underscore the risks that are associated. Out west, of course, hydroelectric power is a major contributor to clean and cost-effective electricity generation, particularly in Washington State, in Oregon, Idaho, Montana. So if rivers and reservoirs are running low, this power generation capacity is at risk. The recent and rapid expansion of our domestic energy production I believe, is very, very good for our nation, particularly the growth in unconventional oil and gas production. What we've seen is it has created jobs, it's generated revenues, it revives local economies. It really does wonders for our energy security. As I mentioned, the U.S. is now producing and exporting more energy than ever before. Our net energy imports are at a 20-year low. They're projected to fall below 5% of total consumption by 2025. And with many new wells that are located in regions that have already experienced some water shortages, we're seeing producers that are moving in a direction to help assure that there's going to be sufficient water available for both the work that they're doing, but also for other regional needs. New technological advancements, new methods to maintain a balanced use of freshwater resources have been continuously emerging. And I think that's important to recognize that folks are appreciating, again, that you can't count on an unlimited supply of this water resource. So how we're utilizing our technology to be smart, to be efficient, is going to put everyone in better stead. Even in the case of conventional power generation stations, technological innovation and advances can assist in reducing, if not eliminating, the overall amount of water that's required for cooling purposes. But again, Madam President, the key really here is technology. Continued research and development is the heart of innovation and advancement. So the questions that I think are appropriate to ask are, what can we do to ensure an adequate supply of water, and how can we responsibly minimize the amount of water that is used for energy, and then also energy for water? Conservation, of course, can help reduce demand from both water for energy and energy for water activities, but I think we have to recognize that it can only go so far. And as I just mentioned, innovative energy and water use strategies coupled with advanced technologies are equally important when trying to optimize our limited supplies. So I've called on all stakeholders in the private sector as well as the government to support R&D and demonstration of new technologies that can really work to reduce our energy and our water consumption. So again, talking about the bill that's on the floor, energy efficiency, everything that we can do to reduce our energy consumption as well as reducing our water consumption just is all good. It's all good. The genesis, the sustainability of such efforts are highly reliant on open and continuous information of information exchange between the parties. I have suggested that the federal government not only can, but they should facilitate this exchange of information on a national and an international scale. And it can do that by forming some partnerships, some genuine partnerships with the stakeholders, including industry, utilities, and academia, and teaming up to advance a better understanding of the energy-water nexus, adopting better practices through technological innovations, and really learning from one another about the procedures and implementation strategies. The dialogue should also include the international perspectives on the energy-water nexus and utilizing the experience and the expertise from around the world. We've seen technological advancements and great work going on in areas like Australia, the Gulf countries, Israel, and Singapore. The development of new and improved technologies can answer the needs of both the domestic and international energy water markets, and this could mean opportunities for job creation, good jobs in high-tech R&D and manufacturing. So what I'm advocating with this white paper and the proposals out there is really better planning, better collaboration. I'm not looking for a top-down approach. I'm not looking for more binding rules or mandates, and I'm certainly not advocating for forceful implementation of any new policies or directives that you must use certain technologies. The adoption of best practices should always be on a voluntary basis. But having said that, I do believe that if we can demonstrate savings and demonstrate efficiencies from new technologies and better resource management approaches, that stakeholders are going to figure out They're going to figure this out. They're going to say this is a win-win for their own bottom line. This makes sense for their customers. It's just good to advance. So along these lines, I've introduced energy water legislation with Senator Wyden. We introduced it in January. Our bill is the Nexus of Energy and Water for Sustainability Act. We call it the NEWS Act, and it features some just plain old common sense policy improvements. What a concept. Just think, you know, in more ordinary times, perhaps I would have even introduced the new proposed NEWS Act as an amendment to the bill that we have before us. But what we have, S2262, is a short bill. It's a simple bill that directs the Office of Science and Technology Policy to establish a committee or a subcommittee under the National Science and Technology Council to coordinate, to streamline the energy and water nexus activities of our federal departments and our agencies. We're asking this panel, which would be chaired by the Secretaries of Energy and Interior, and bringing in representatives from the agencies to identify all these relevant energy water nexus activities across the federal government, because we know it's just a huge spaghetti mess here. Work to gather and disseminate the data to enable better practices, explore the relevant public-private collaboration. We also call for OMB to submit a cross-cut budget that details these federal expenditures to energy water activities. And what we're looking to do is to streamline these efforts, not just to save water, not just to save energy, but to save taxpayer dollars. So it's good, it's sensible. I think it's a rationed approach. I'd like to be able to legislate on this, and I hope, Madam Chairman, Madam President, that we will get to that point where we are beyond the energy efficiency bill, the Shaheen-Portman bill that we've been trying so hard to work to advance, not only this week, but for years now, that we are beyond arguing over whether or not we're going to be able to move on some amendments, but that we will take up with great energy and enthusiasm, pun intended, these initiatives that will help our nation to be more productive, to be more energy secure, to have a stronger national security, to have energy policies that are current and are just sound. So I am one who tries to get up every morning optimistic, glass half full, and I want to believe that we will work out an arrangement so that we can have a fair amendment process that allows Republicans to offer a small handful of amendments to be debated and voted on that will allow us to move an energy efficiency measure that is important to our energy policy and to demonstrate, Madam President, that perhaps we can do a little bit of legislating, a little bit of governing, and advance the cause.